You know, from a massive stadium anthem that gives you goosebumps to a simple lullaby, music is just everywhere. It's woven into the very fabric of our lives. It's this universal language that everyone seems to understand, but have you ever really stopped to think about what it is? Well, today, we're going to do just that. We're going to deconstruct the art of sound.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll ask that big, simple-sounding question, what even is music? Then we're going to get a little nerdy and dissect its DNA, the basic building blocks of any sound you've ever heard. After that, we'll see how those sounds are brought to life, take a wild ride through its 40,000-year history, and finally, try to uncover why it has such a powerful grip on us.
All right, let's jump right in with that first big question. It seems so obvious, right? But trying to actually define music, yeah, that's surprisingly tricky.
Think about it. Is the sound of rain music? What about the constant, steady rhythm of a machine in a factory? I mean, where do you draw the line between just plain noise and a melody? Well, it really all boils down to one key ingredient: human intention.
People have been arguing about this for centuries, but this right here is a really solid way to think about it. Music is basically the art of organizing sound to express something. Anything, really. It's the huge difference between a random car crash and a chord that's played on purpose. It's sound with a point.
And this is what makes music just so incredible. From ancient tribal chants all the way to modern electronic beats, the tools change, the styles change, but that impulse to make music, that's a universal human thing. It's this amazing thread that connects every single one of us across every continent and all of time.
Okay, so now let's pop the hood and see what's going on inside. If we really want to get what music is, we've got to break it down into its most basic parts. You could even call it its DNA.
Okay, first up is rhythm. This is the most primal, gut-level element. It's the reason you start tapping your foot or nodding your head without even realizing you're doing it. You can think of it as the skeleton of a piece of music, the frame that holds everything else up.
That pulse you feel, that's the foundation. Rhythm is what organizes all the sounds over a period of time, creating a pattern that our brains just love to latch onto. It's what turns a jumble of random noises into the beginning of a real song.
So on top of that rhythmic foundation, we start layering other things. Melody, that's the part you can't get out of your head, the tune. Harmony adds all the emotional color and depth by using chords. And timbre. Timbre is the unique quality, the voice of an instrument. It's the reason a violin and a trumpet can play the exact same note but sound completely different.
Now, how you combine all these elements creates what we call musical texture. The simplest is monophony. Just think of one person singing Happy Birthday all by themselves. Then you've got polyphony, which is where multiple independent melodies are all weaving together, like in a choir singing around. And the one you hear most often, especially in pop music, is homophony. One clear melody on top with chords supporting it from underneath.
Okay, so we have our ingredients, but how do they actually become a song? Let's take a look at the process of actually bringing music to life. You know, music gets created in a few different ways, and they often overlap. It can be planned out to the tiniest detail, or it can be invented right there on the spot, or even a mix of both. But it all leads up to that final crucial act, the performance.
The big difference here is really planning versus spontaneity. Composition is like an architect's blueprint. Every single detail is mapped out ahead of time. But improvisation, which is the heart and soul of genres like jazz and blues, is way more like a live conversation happening between musicians right in that moment.
And then, finally, you have the performance. This is where it all comes together. It's that magic moment when the music finally leaves the sheet music or the musician's head and becomes a real shared experience, connecting the artist directly with the audience.
All right, now let's zoom way, way out. Humans have been using these very same building blocks to make music for a long, long time. So let's take a super quick trip through its absolutely incredible evolution.
I mean, this timeline is just staggering to think about. We start 40,000 years ago with flutes literally carved from bone. Then you fast forward to ancient Syria, and we find the first known song ever written down, etched on a clay tablet. Then you get the complex vocal harmonies of medieval Europe, the grand orchestras of the classical era. But honestly, the biggest game changer happens in the 20th century, when recording technology changes everything and leads to this global explosion of all the genres we know and love today, like jazz, rock, and pop.
So, this brings us to our final and maybe most important question. Why? Why does a simple arrangement of sounds have such a deep, profound effect on our minds and our emotions?
The ancient Greeks knew music was way more than just entertainment. Plato believed it was so powerful it could actually shape a person's soul. And what's wild is that today, modern neuroscience is basically proving him right, showing us exactly how deeply music is wired into our brains and our feelings.
Seriously, its influence is everywhere you look. Music makes our joyful moments feel even bigger, and it consoles us when we're sad. It's the sound of celebration at a wedding and a solemn score at a funeral. It can be a powerful tool for therapy or a banner for our cultural identity. But ultimately, music gives a voice to all the things we just can't quite put into words.
And maybe that's the most amazing thing about it. A simple arrangement of sounds can literally become the soundtrack to our entire lives, defining our memories, our relationships, our personal stories. So that leaves one question. What song defines you? Thanks for tuning in.